Hello friends, welcome to this video. In this video, we are going to talk about the connective tissue, the types of connecting tissues, whatever the classification is there, on what basis they are classified, and some of the basic things of the connective tissue we are going to talk about in this video session. So before moving into the topic, what do we mean by connective tissue? So the name itself says connective. So we all know what is tissue. Tissue is nothing but they are the group of cells. It may be many cells or a single cells, group of cells with similar structure and function. So there are many cells which are grouped together based on the structure and they perform a single function, a similar function. So those group of cells are called as tissue. So now what are these connective tissue? The name says connective means connection. These connective tissue are these tissues which connects various organs in our system. For example, we have heart, lungs, liver, brain, spinal cord. We have different types of organs in our body. So these connective tissues are placed in our organ system in from top to bottom they are present and they connect various organs. They give connection to different organs. So we can call them, they are hence they are called as connective tissue, and they bind and support to the other tissues and the organ. A simple example, they are called as the packaging material. So I can call them as, they are called as the packaging material. They are also called as packaging material. So why they are called as packaging material? In the sense, I'll give you a simple example to understand how they act as packaging material. For example, whenever we are exporting or importing certain fruits or certain glasswares, what we do, we package them in a cartoon box. Especially if you're packaging your apples and all, we give them a cushion covering. So you get like a string like cushions surrounding the apples or pears. We package them, and in between those apples we keep some newspapers, crushed newspapers, or we keep them some sawdust or wooden dusts, we keep them. Or if you're packaging glasswares, glass materials, if you're packaging and exporting it, we give them some cushion, straw, hay, all these things we keep it in between them, so that whenever during transportation, because of the friction, the fruit or the glassware does not get broken, does not get damaged. So to prevent that, during packaging, during transportation, we keep in between those apples or fruits or in between the glasswares some materials. It may be paper, sawdust, wood dust, wood chips, or we might keep them some sponge material or straw, hay, and all we keep them. They prevent the friction and the damage caused due to the friction. Similarly, in our body system, in between the organs, we have certain specialized tissue which prevents the organ damage because of the friction. Hence, these connective tissue are also called as packaging material. One of the major function of this connective tissue is it binds and it supports to the organ. So that was the introductory part of this connective tissue. Where does this connective tissue develop from? Connective tissue is mesodermal in origin. So I hope you know what is mesodermal. When the embryo is developing, we have three germ layers: ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. So some tissues like muscular tissue and all those things, muscular tissue also arises from mesodermal tissue. Your nervous tissue arises from the endodermal tissue. Your epithelium tissue arises from the ectodermal germ layer. Our connective tissue is mesodermal in origin. So I'm repeating, what is this mesoderm? We have three germ layers. So whenever a sperm and egg fuses to form zygote, the zygote develops into an embryo, and embryo develops into blastula, morula, gastrula, embryonic stages. At one particular embryonic stage, the entire embryo has three germ layers: ectoderm, endoderm, mesoderm. Ectoderm means, ecto means outside, derma means skin, meso means middle, derma means skin or layer. skin or layer. Similarly, we have endoderm. Endo means inside, derma, dermis means skin or the layer. So there are certain organs that develop from ectoderm, certain organs that develop from mesoderm, and certain organs that develop from endoderm. Our connective tissue is mesodermal in origin. That means when the embryo is developing, the mesodermal cells will divide and they will give rise to the connective tissue. And one more important characteristic of connective tissue is they are not tightly packed or densely packed. Like our epithelial tissues, they are tightly or densely packed. But our connective tissue, they are loosely packed or sparsely packed, I can call them. Why are they loosely packed? Because they have less number of cells. They do not have large number of cells like epithelium cells, like epithelium tissue. They have very few cells which are scattered or which are loosely packed. Hence, we can call them as they are loosely packed or sparsely packed, and they are packaged in a matrix where they are arranged in a matrix. These cells, these connective tissue cells, they are arranged in a matrix. Matrix is nothing but it is like a component where these cells are stuffed in. So they are, for example, if this is the matrix, inside these matrix you have the connective tissues which are loosely packed. So this is called as your matrix. The arrangement in which these connective cells are there, they are called as matrix. This matrix is made up of two important components. Your connective tissue matrix is made up of two important components. One is called as proteoglycans, and the other component is called as glycoproteins. So these are nothing but your protein carbohydrate complex. What is the difference between proteoglycans and the glycoproteins? Both are made up of your protein group and your carbohydrate group. But what actually differs is the percentage of protein and the percentage of carbohydrate. And the type of carbohydrate, it might be oligosaccharides, monosaccharides, disaccharides, polysaccharides, and the type of linkage, type of bond. So that all differs. So proteoglycans and glycoproteins both are nothing but proteo means protein, glyco means carbohydrate. So they are the protein carbohydrate complex. A protein molecule and a carbohydrate molecule is grouped or it is linked. They are bond. The protein and carbohydrate forms a bond or a complex. So we have this matrix, entire matrix where the connective tissue is present. It is made up of proteoglycans and glycoproteins. And these, whatever cells I said, right, connective tissue cells, whatever they are stuffed in this matrix, they are called as connective tissue fibers. So whatever I was drawing here, they are nothing but the connective tissue fibers. So, so as I said, your connective tissue is not a single component. There are many groups of cells, like your matrix is there, your connective tissue fibers are there. We will study in depth types of fibers, and other cells are also there in this matrix. There are some cells like macrophages, some cells like mast cells, and some other cells like your fibroblasts are there. So we will study that in a while. So all this together makes your connective tissue. So let us recapture. I'll recapitulate again. Connective tissue. It is a tissue, very important tissue that binds and gives the support to the other tissues as well as the other organs. It connects the other organs with other tissues, and it is also called as the packaging material. It is mesodermal in origin. It is loosely packed because they have very less number of cells which are scattered in the matrix that is made up of protein carbohydrate complex called as proteoglycans and glycoproteins. And inside this matrix, we have connective tissue fibers which are scattered. So this was all about our introduction for the connective tissue. Now, there are three different types of connective tissue fibers. So let us see what are the types of connective tissue fibers. Now, we will go to the types of connective tissue fibers. First type is called as your collagenous fiber. collagenous fiber. So on what basis they are classified? They are classified based on the component what they are made. What substance is used to make to produce these fibers? That is the first criteria. Second criteria is the based on the texture, whether they are thin, whether they are branched, or whether they are unbranched, whether they are thicker. So based on the component on which they are made and what based on the texture, they are classified into three groups: collagenous fiber, elastic fibers, elastic fibers, and reticulate fibers, and reticulate fibers. So this collagenous fibers is made up of a protein called as collagen. It is made up of a protein called as collagen. So those fibers where the protein collagen is utilized, that they become as collagenous fibers. And for example, a fiber is utilizing this collagen, and the collagen is a protein. If it is utilizing this collagen, then that becomes your collagenous fiber. They are usually white in color, and these are arranged in bundles. It is not a single fiber. There are many fibers that comes together, and it is arranged in a bundle. So definitely there are many fibers coming together. They are arranged in the form of bundles. So they will be thick, they will be unbranched, they will be unbranched, and they are found in the bundles. They are present in the form of bundles, and they are non-elastic. They cannot be stretched. They are non-elastic, and they do not tear up easily. So they are non-elastic. For example, our collagen fibers are present in the skin, in the epidermis, below the epidermis, in the entire region of our skin, it is present. That is why we have a, this skins are all not elastic. When we age, what happens? We get wrinkles. That is because our collagen gets denatured, or collagen fibers are lost. The collagen tissue is lost, and what happens? Our skin becomes loosened. And now what happens? Our skin is tight. Our skin is in particular position, in particular structure, in a phase in our body, because of the collagenous fiber. After age, aged people, our grandmother, our grandfather, they have wrinkles in their skin. They have loose fold skin because the collagen protein is lost. So what happens? That becomes loosened over here. So collagenous fibers, what are the properties of the collagenous fibers? They are made up of a protein called as collagen. They are white in color. They are occurring in bundles, and they are thick, long, unbranched, occurring in bundles. They are non-elastic, and they do not tear up easily, and they are found in the many places. That is about your collagenous fiber. Now, moving on to the elastic fiber. The elastic fiber is made up of a protein called as elastin. So the name itself says they are elastic in nature. They are made up of a protein called as elastin. They are elastic in nature. They are yellow in color. They are yellow in color. They are made up of a protein called elastin. They are elastic in nature. They appear as long, thin, thread-like. Long, thin, thread-like, and they are branched. These fibers occur single. They do not occur in bundles. They occur in as a single fibers. They are long, thin, and they are branched. They are long, thin, and they occur branched. They are made up of elastin protein, and they have elastic nature in them. So where are these elastic fibers found? Again, these elastic fibers are found in a skin itself. For example, if I stretch my skin, I leave it back, it comes back to its original position. So you can just pinch your cheeks and see. After I pinch the cheeks, it is coming back. It is going back to its original position. Like after I stretch a rubber band and leave it, it comes back to its original position. So similarly, these elastic fibers are also present in the skin. That is why after I pull this skin or stretch the skin, it goes back to its original position. These elastic fibers are elastic in nature. They are made up of a protein called elastin. They are yellow, thin, thread-like, they are single branched. Moving on to the last type of fiber, these fibers are also These fibers are also made up of collagen itself. But what is the difference? These reticulate fibers, these reticulate connective tissue are also made up of collagen. They are, since they are also made up of collagen, they will look appear white in color. But here they are branched. They look like network. What do you mean by reticulate? In plants, you would have studied parallel venation and reticulate venation. Reticulate means if you take a leaf, it will be having reticulate veins will be there, and network like veins will be there, right? So these network like veins are called as your reticulate venation. Similarly, these reticulate fibers are also connect in the form of network. So they are branched, they are also in the form of mesh like structure. So these are called as reticulate connective tissue fibers. So these are thin, branched, network like or mesh like collagenous fibers only. They are made up of collagen, they appear white in color, they are composed of collagen, and they also help in connecting the adjacent tissues. They are network like or bit densely packed, or like mesh like, they are called as, hence they are called as reticulate fibers. Now, a quick recap for all the concepts that we have studied. Connective tissue fibers. These fibers are present in the matrix that is made up of proteoglycans and glycoproteins. These fibers are of three types based on the components. If they're made up of collagen, it is called as collagenous fiber. If they're made up of elastin, it is called as elastic fibers. If it is made up of collagen, that is branched in the form of network and thin, it is called as reticulate fibers. So all the three fibers might be present in your connective tissue, or in some region, one type of tissues might be present. Now, along with these fibers, I said you, there are certain cells that are present in our connective tissue in the matrix. There are three important cells that are present that we have to remember. The first cell is called as fibroblast. They are called as fibroblast. Fibroblasts are the cells that produce the protein for the formation of the matrix, for the formation of the fibers. For example, they might produce collagen, they might produce elastin. So all these proteins necessary for the matrix as well as for the formation of connective tissue fibers are produced by these cells called as fibroblast. So these are the cells that secrete proteins. So it might be collagen, elastin, anything. Those are the cells that are present in the connective tissue that secretes your protein. Second type of cell is called as macrophage cell. Now, what do you mean by macrophage? Let me split the word for you. Macro means big. Macro means large or big, we all know. Phage means to eat or to consume. To eat or to consume. These macrophages, they are large amoeboid shaped cells. They are large amoeboid shaped cells. Amoeboid means they do not have a particular shape. They are, the shape varies and they are large. So macrophages are large amoeboid shaped cells that are present in the connective tissue. What is the function? They undergo a specific function called as phagocytosis. Now, what is phagocytosis? Phago means eat. I said you, phago means to eat or consume. Cytosis means cell, to kill a cell and to eat. So this is also called as cell eating process. We have cell drinking process also, that is called as pinocytosis. So I just want to mention that pinocytosis means cell drinking. Cell eating means phagocytosis. What are the function of macrophages? These macrophages are present in our entire body, in the connective tissue. They engulf the foreign particle. What do I mean by foreign particle? For example, I am inhaling. There are lots of bacteria, virus, fungal spores, pollen grains, dust particles, so many allergic substances are there in the atmosphere, in the air. When I inhale them, all the foreign, these are called as foreign particles which are entering into my body. It may be a small bacteria or a fungal spore or a fungal hyphae or a virus or any other dust particle, pollen grains, all these allergic substances. When I inhale them, my body recognizes them as a foreign substances and it kills them. So it goes, these macrophages goes and engulfs them and they consume. They break this bacteria or the fungus and they consume. Hence, it is called as cell eating or phagocytosis. Or else what will happen? I will suffer from various type of diseases. Bacteria, cold, virus or cold or any fever will come. All these things will come. So what happens? These macrophages, they roam around the body. They're scattered in the body. They scrutinize and they check whether any foreign particle has entered into my body. And if they come in contact with any foreign substances, they just engulf them and they consume them. They consume them in the sense they break the foreign particle into bits so that they kill the bacteria or they kill the virus. That is what I mean. That is what I meant as consume them or eat them. And this process is called as phagocytosis. And this function is performed by a special type of cell called as macrophagous cell. Now, one more type of cell is also present in our body. They are called as your mast cells. What is this mast cells? These are also special type of cells which are granular in appearance. They have certain granule-like substances in the cytoplasm. That is why they appear granular in appearance. And this granular appearance is due to a chemical compound called as histamine. Is due to a chemical compound called as histamine. So what happens whenever I said you, whenever the foreign particle enters inside, macrophages consume them and they will signal or they will trigger other cells, other immune responses. We have so many immune responses, immune cells. We have B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes, memory T cells, killer T cells. We have natural killer cells, dendritic cells, mast cells, macrophages. So many things are there, and all these are interconnected. So if they come into a contact with some foreign substances like bacteria, these mast cells get activated and they rupture, and this histamine comes out, is secreted out, and they induce allergic response. They induce allergic response. What is this allergic response? For example, a simple example I'll give you. For example, a honeybee or a mosquito comes and stings you or bites you. Let it be any fly or any insect that comes and bites you or stings you. When it is stinging you or when it is biting you, it will secrete certain enzymes. It will secrete certain chemical compounds into your bloodstream. And your bloodstream identifies that enzymes or chemicals as a foreign particle, as a foreign substance, and it secretes your mast cells. These mast cells that are there in the particular area, for example, if a mosquito has bitten me here, the macrophages and the mast cells that are over here gets activated. The mast cell releases or ruptures. It ruptures and the histamine is produced. This histamine causes allergic response like inflammation. So in this area, a small inflammation will be formed or a small bleb will be formed. So that is what I meant as allergic response. Why is this inflammation present? Inflammation is nothing but widening of your blood vessel. A small blood vessel or a blood artery or a capillary which was very thin, which was narrow. Now, because of the release of this histamine, it becomes enlarged. It becomes broadened. The vessels becomes widened. So this results. This is called as inflammation. Why should there be widening of the broadening of the blood vessel? So that more blood flows into that particular area. When more blood is flowing, more WBCs will come and they will kill that chemical, or they will consume. More macrophages can come, more WBC can come, and they can attack those bacteria in that particular area. So that is why for the entry of more blood vessel, for the more blood, the vessels get broadened, the vessels get widened in that particular area, and we call that as inflammation or swelling, we call that as. So that is because of the release of an histamine which is present in this mast cells. These histamine, they trigger the allergic responses. This histamine is present in the cytoplasm, hence this mast cell looks granular in appearance. They are not smooth, they are granular in appearance. So if you take a connective tissue, they are made up of three important types of fibers. They might be your reticulate fibers or your They might be reticulate fibers, or they might be elastic fibers, or they may be collagenous fibers, and they are scattered in the matrix made up of protein carbohydrate complex, and they have three important cells: fibroblast cells, macrophages, and your mast cells. Now, if I want to show you one simple picture, and if I want to explain you the cells, so here you can see the different types of connective tissue that I am showing in the picture over here. You can see this thick bundle-like cells are there. They are the cells, thick bundle, like I said you, they are collagenous fiber made up of collagen protein. While on the other hand, you can see this elastic fiber, which is very thin also. Here you can see these are very thin and they are branched. So this is one picture where you can see the, and you can see the fibroblast cells that secrete the protein for these fibers. And in this cell, you can see the macrophages that I said you that are amoeboid. So you can see your macrophages, which are amoeboid-like, amoeboid shaped cells you can see. And also you can see the mast cells, which are granular in appearance. And you can see over here beautifully your collagen fibers that are these collagenous fibers that are in the form of bundles. You can see they are in the form of bundles. And you can see here this pinkish color fibers. These are your reticulate fibers. They are in the form of network or in the form of mesh over here and here. And this yellowish, light yellowish color is your elastic fibers. So this is all about your connective tissue. On to the last portion of this video, which is the classification of connective tissue. So different textbooks or different websites give you different classifications. In this video, I'm going to show you a very basic classification. With, if you remember these things, the entire connective tissue becomes easier. So you can, whichever is easier for you, you can remember that. So the connective tissue classification I am going to give you in this. This is the last part of the video. The first group of classification is called as the connective tissue proper, which means connective tissue proper means the actual connecting tissue, the actual connective tissue, that is called as connective tissue proper. And then we call it as skeletal connective tissue. Skeletal connective tissue, I'm representing connective tissue by CT. And the last one is your vascular connective tissue. Vascular connective tissue. So your connective tissue proper is divided into three types. One is called as your loose connective tissue, loose connective tissue, and dense fibrous connective tissue, dense fibrous connective tissue, and your specialized connective tissue, and your specialized connective tissue. Now, your loose connective tissue, the name itself says they are very loosely arranged. Dense fibrous connective tissue, they are a bit densely arranged. If the dense fibrous connective tissue are regular, if they're arranged in a regular pattern, in a proper systematic pattern, they are called as your regular, they are called as your regular dense fibrous connective tissue. If they are scattered, if they are randomly arranged, there's no systematic arrangement in the fibers, then they are called as irregular dense fibrous connective tissue. Apart from this, you also have white collagenous dense fibrous connective tissue, yellow elastin fibrous connective tissue. The name itself says if the majority of the tissue is of the matrix is composed of your white collagenous fiber, then it is called as white collagenous fibrous tissue. White collagenous fibrous tissue. If the majority of the matrix is made up of yellow elastin fibers, then they are called as yellow elastic connective tissue. So based on the components, you can either differentiate as white collagenous connective tissue or yellow elastic connective tissue. If these fibers are regularly arranged in a proper arrangement, in a systematic arrangement, they are called as a regular dense fibrous connective tissue. If they are irregularly arranged, if they are scattered, they are called as irregular connective tissue, fibrous connective tissue. Coming to specialized connective tissue, these specialized connective tissue are also type of loose connective tissue. The only difference is in their function. We have two different types of connective tissue over here. One is called as your adipose tissue. As we all know, adipose tissue is made up of adipocytes, which is your fat storing cells. It acts as a reservoir of energy. It acts as your thermal insulator. That is called as adipose tissue, fat storage tissue. And the other one is called as areolar tissue. What is the function of areolar tissue? These areolar tissue are present in the spaces in between the organs in our body. They fill the spaces in between the organs. Hence, it is called as areolar tissue. They are also a type of loose connective tissue. So you have to remember that they are also a type of loose connective tissue. They are specialized in their function. So that is why, and the structure. So your connective tissue proper is loose connective tissue, your dense fibrous tissue, and your specialized tissue. Coming to your skeletal connective tissue, your skeletal connective tissue is divided into two types. One is called as your cartilage and the other one is called as your bone. Bone is again divided into spongy bone and compact bone. Spongy bone and compact bone. So our skeletal connective tissue is divided into cartilage and bone. Bone is further divided into spongy bone and compact bone. On the other hand, vascular connective tissue is divided into blood and lymph. Blood and lymph. So they help in the transportation of your nutrients, gases, exchange of gases, and removal of toxic elements. They help in the exchange of gases, delivery, transportation of nutrients, and removal of toxic materials, elimination of waste material. Hence, they are called as vascular connective tissue. So our connective tissue ends over here. So which classification of connective tissue can be dealt under three topics. So connective tissue proper, the first group, your skeletal connective tissue, and the vascular connective tissue. And these are the further subdivisions of each group. So I hope now the connective tissue, the basic things are very clear with you all. If you like this video, please do give a thumbs up and share it with your friends, and do subscribe to my channel, and also subscribe to my channel and press the notification button so that you will get to know whenever I release new videos. So thank you. Have a nice day.